Hey, welcome back to the second video, all about how to create a little bit more structure to help you achieve your goals. I trust that the last video helped you to understand the environment that you're creating for yourself so that you can achieve those goals. And now we're going to be going into breaking them down into bite-sized chunks so that you can quantify them, so that you can measure them, and so that you can see that it is really achievable. And I love the quote that goes, "How do you eat an elephant?" Well, one bite at a time. And that's exactly what we do when we break down our goals. But we have to make sure that we set up the environment first and the structure before we start implementing, because it's too easy to just go into doing mode. How do I do this? And it's not a sustainable approach because you're not really clear on your outcomes. And if you don't have a structure to help you achieve those outcomes, then you implementing and you doing the things isn't systematic, therefore doesn't allow you to achieve your dreams. And I'm sure that a lot of you know how to be a busy bee, because that's a very common challenge from my clients of doing. But we want to be a human being, not a human doing. We want to arrive with grace and not just in a frenzy of chaos that we might have achieved our dream, but there was no flow and structure along the way. I'm really excited to share this with you because it's super close to my heart. I also had a scatterbrain when I first started business and found it really hard to break things down into bite-sized chunks and create that structure for myself. And I'll never forget a mentor of mine, his name is Matt Levars, and we were talking about my plans and my goals. And he said to me, "Danny, if you don't value structure, value structure." Because it's so important to be able to have that system in place that helps you to build that trust, to know that you are achieving those steps along the way, and ultimately have thought about it in a big picture sense so that you know what you need to put your energy towards and have that clear focus that's going to get you there. And I'm a full dynamo. I just love taking action and getting the job done. But it's not about that. It's about learning to build that muscle within yourself that is the system and the structure. And it's interesting because a lot of people rebel against structure. And I also know that sometimes my clients are rebels because that's why you're my client. And that's important to recognize that maybe structure isn't your strong point because either you had a parent that was really anal and you rebelled against that, or you had a parent that didn't have any structure in their life and you basically adopted that way of being and you never learn otherwise. And that's okay. Because in school and going through life, we all have different experiences. And if you haven't learned how to be a structured person, that's okay. You haven't learned the information yet and you don't know what you don't know. And I trust that this video will help you to turn that around, to help you gain awareness of why structure is so vital to us building a business that we love and building a business that has a really clear plan and strategy so that we can start taking small and consistent steps to get to our outcome. Now, the thing I love about structure as well is that when you've created the structure, you can forget about it and you can focus on the one thing right in front of you. And that one thing is in a system. So it's leading you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing in order to achieve your goals. I know that a lot of us have set goals before and we haven't been able to achieve them because we didn't have the right strategy. We didn't have the right structure. And I love the quote that goes, create a new strategy, create a new result. Because it is about just shifting your mind to start to value that structure, start to value that new strategy so that you can change your results. Maybe you've fallen short of yourself before and now you're afraid to set big goals because you don't want to disappoint yourself. But if you think about it, it was probably because you didn't have a system in place to be able to achieve them, and it just stayed as a fluffy thing in the sky and there was never any stepping stones to help you get there. Am I close? Is that the experience that you've had? Because I know that that was the experience I had. And I know that in school we don't get set up for success because we don't get taught how to set sustainable goals and how to break them down. The other thing about taking on a new goal is that it's challenging, it's hard, and we have to choose to show up for ourselves. And there's a wonderful metaphor I'd love to share with you about a little boy that sees a butterfly coming out of his cocoon. And he sees this butterfly struggling, and the butterfly's really trying to come out of his cocoon. And this little boy must have been about 4 years old. And he races home on his bike and he goes to get some little nail scissors. And he comes back to the butterfly and he snips open the cocoon. And the butterfly is free of the cocoon but falls out and lands on the ground and dies. Because you see, the butterfly needs to struggle. The butterfly needs to build the strength within his wings so that when he does finally emerge, he has the strength to fly. And that's just like us. We need to build the muscles, build the strength to be able to fly. And goals should be a stretch. Goals should be more than you ever thought that you could achieve. And then you turn around and you say, hey, it's actually amazing because you took small, consistent steps to get there. And the interesting thing about our learning and our growth is that it starts to snowball and we start to pick up momentum. And then next minute you turn around and you think, wow, it's incredible all the things I've achieved. I never thought that was possible in such a short time. And that's fantastic because when we start showing up for ourselves, when we start taking action for ourselves, that means we are on a growth trajectory. We're catapulting into our future because we're taking on new challenges, because we're facing fear and showing up anyway. And that makes you a phenomenal human being. You know, some people, they don't know that an extraordinary life is available to them because maybe they grew up in an environment where there weren't people fighting for their goals. There's a funny analogy about people that maybe are in an environment where people around them are not achieving. And I know that happens a lot, especially in New Zealand and Australia with the tall poppy syndrome. That when you set these big goals, it's a challenge in your environment because no one else is doing it. They don't know that an extraordinary life is there waiting for them. And they just need to take responsibility and believe that it's possible. And what happens is that these people are potentially afraid and they're defensive. And when you tell them about your goals, they try to cut you down. And I call these people well-meaning dream stealers. And they are well-meaning because they don't know that they're doing it. But we need to be aware of this so that we don't let them steal our dreams. And the thing I love about structure is when you can break it down, when you can identify what the clear steps are that give you clarity and focus, you can't let them steal your dreams, because all you got to do is put one foot in front of the other. And that means you're going to be living an extraordinary life. It's full of joy and connection and love, because everyone deserves that. And it was always possible. It is so possible for us to achieve that if we break it down into small, achievable steps. Let's talk about how we do this. So, in your workbook, you've got a couple of different sections to break your big picture goal into smaller chunks. And we have this big ambiguous goal, this wildly important goal somewhere out in the future. And we want to break it down so that we can quantify the steps, so that it's measurable. So what I'd like you to do is to take that big picture goal. I'd like you to put a number on it. For example, if you would like to impact 5,000 people in the next 10 years, what a fantastic goal. But put a number on it. Make sure that it's a quantifiable number. And then what we're going to do is we're going to half that number. So in 10 years' time, if you want to impact 5,000 people, then it means that in 5 years' time, you will want to impact 2,500 people, whether that's clients, customers, friends and family, creating a movement, whatever your big dream is. But taking that big picture number, halving it, and now you've got your 5-year goal. Is this making sense so far? So pick a number from the sky. Make it your number. Don't stress about the number, because it is so possible. And we just need to be heading towards a target, and then we will get it. Or even out completely off mark, but way higher than we ever thought. Or maybe we're aiming for it and we get just below it, and that's okay. But we've got to have an aim. So we want to have that big picture number, halve it, and now we've got our 5-year goal. And the benefit of having this 5-year goal is that in 5 years, you can kind of imagine who you're going to be. 5 years isn't so huge that you can't picture your life. I mean, to be honest, some people find it really challenging, and that's okay, because we're still building the muscle. And future-focused thinking is a skill. Some people don't dare to believe how much they will grow within that 5-year period. And I trust that you're ready to lean into that uncomfortable feeling of like, wow, in 5 years, this is who I'm going to be. Because in coaching, we believe that you can be anyone that you want to be. You just have to consciously create the behavior, and then you can start moving forward in that direction and develop any part of yourself. And remembering that it was always in you, but now you're inviting it to the surface. So, step 1 is the big picture goal halved makes it the 5-year goal. And remember that these numbers are just an approximation, but it's a target. And we're going to get really emotionally attached to these numbers. The reason why this is so important as well is because your clients and your customers and the people coming into your shop, they'll feel that you're on a mission. They'll feel that you know who you are enough to put your stake in the sand and say, this is me and I want to impact this many people. Or this is our business and our mission is to achieve this. That's what creates an amazing business. It's people on a mission. That's why that number is so important. It's not just a fluffy thing that is unobtainable. It is obtainable because we're breaking it down into steps. Cool. So is this a good message so far? Are you enjoying this video? I love being here with you and I love being able to share my knowledge and recognizing that I've done it and now I'm just bringing you along the way. So step 2 is halving it again. So let's say your big picture goal is to travel to 25 countries. Awesome. I love that. So your 5-year goal is to travel to 12 and a half. Let's say 12. Then we want to halve it again. And now we're getting 2.5 years away. And that is a really obtainable goal. So 12 and a half divided by 2. So let's say 6 for numbers' sake. And we can just forget about the big picture now, because all we've got to focus on is that goal, that smaller goal. So we went from 10 to 5 years, and now we're going to bring it into 2 years, just for numbers' sake. But remember that it's not about the numbers. So recognizing that the numbers that you pick, they just need to be in order, but don't get too stressed out about it. Because now we've got a 2-year goal, that's when we're going to get specific. This is where the detail comes in, okay? So making sure that you break it down enough to have specificity, to be able to make it specific. So now you've got a 2-year goal. So let's say your goal is to make $1 million in 2 years. Fantastic. Keep that in your mind, and that is your 2-year goal. Then we want to articulate that goal with a lot of really flavorful, colorful language. There's a beautiful quote that reads, "What we can language, we can experience." And our language creates our reality. If you think about describing your emotions, so if you say, oh, it was the most awful day, inside you, you're going to feel very, very upset or angry because you've labeled it the most awful day. And our language is so important to our experience. So starting to listen to the language that you use and asking yourself, is this an accurate representation of what I feel? And when we're talking about our 2-year goal, we want to elevate that language. We want to make it colorful. Now, in 2 years, I want to be smashing my $1 million goal consistently with epic friends and an extremely loving, passionate relationship. Getting really colorful with your language emotionally charges you to have a fantastic goal that lights you up, that's specific, that is measurable, and that is obtainable. Now we get to the 1-year goal. So 12 months from now, where do you want to be? And you don't have to make this a December to December goal. You could make it July to July, or if you're working in finance, use the tax year. Whatever best sits with you. But in approximately 12 months, where can you see yourself? What's important to you in 12 months' time? I know that for me, it's really important to have a clear snapshot image in my mind. Because motivation is external and willpower is internal. Willpower is what's going to get me out of bed every day. Willpower is what's going to build trust within myself. Not other people telling me that I can do it, not other people helping to support me, but me committing to myself and deciding that I'm going to do it. So, surround yourself with things that are going to help you get there, and know that you are the one that's going to make it happen. Joe Pane, my mentor, says, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And it is up to you, because internally focused people who build that trust with themselves because they've got the willpower, they are the ones that are not letting all of the external factors of the world be their excuses for why they don't achieve their dreams. They're just showing up quietly, doing the things, and not needing to be acknowledged. It's lovely to have acknowledgement and recognizing that you don't need it because you're doing it for yourself. And the 1 year goal is really, it's an obtainable vision that you can really connect to and know in 12 months' time, I must get to this place because I know that I'm worth it. So what you need to do is to visualize yourself doing it. I mentioned in the last video how powerful our subconscious mind is. So visualize yourself. Take some time to go for a stroll on the beach, or go and have a drive in a nice neighborhood and pick out the house that you want to buy in 12 months' time. Or sit down and draw a picture of the things that you want to see happen in your life. For me, I've got a big piece of glass, and I bought a glass marker, and I've written my big goals up on this piece of glass, and I framed it on my wall. So I see it all the time. I'm surrounding myself with it. I also did a vision board and cut out all of the things that are really important to me, and I have that vision board so that I can visualize and see the things that I'm actively bringing into my life. Because the subconscious mind is taking it all in. And when we can develop that environment, when we can create that for ourselves, that is what's going to help us achieve the dream. Not just doing this 1 year goal, putting it in a drawer somewhere and then forgetting about it. That's not how we achieve our dreams. We need to be vivacious. We need to be tenacious. We need to know that no matter what, we are striving towards this. And recognizing that if we don't make that dream for whatever reason, it's just feedback. It's not failure. It's allowing ourselves to dream big, to break it down into chunks, to have that vision for ourselves, and then ultimately know that it's not about the vision, it's about who we become along the way. See ya.